What is going on, everyone? Hope you guys are having a beautiful Monday for those of you who are just coming in, or for those of you who have been with us since my earlier live stream today. So, this is my political live stream. I try to have one every Monday night, focus on politics, what's going on with the world. And, we've been seeing a lot of stuff come about. A lot of stuff come about through the e-files. And so we're going to go through some of that today, but the main topic that we're talking about today is going to be over eugenics. Okay. Because over the years, I have made some pretty staggering connections. And a lot of them has to do with the elites and how they move through the shadows to get what they want. Obviously, we know a lot of how they do that. But eugenics. Okay. So we're going to take a look at quite a few articles to read today, a lot of X account posts, and a lot of good, well, not a lot, but a few videos to watch. And so what we'll do is we'll talk about it, and then we'll go from there. So eugenics, for those of you who don't know what eugenics is, what is it? So we're going to go ahead and read this article here. All right, so pretty much what it is that it is a theory to improve the population through genetic manipulation through genes, um, pretty much uh, encouraging the favored genes while suppressing the non-favorable genes. Okay, so let's go ahead and read this here. Eugenics is the scientifically erroneous and immoral theory of racial improvement and planned breeding, which gained popularity during the early 20th century, late 1900 or early 1900s, but it began before then, in the 1860s, I believe, with Francis Galton coming up with that theory. Let's see. Eugenicists worldwide believe that they could perfect human beings and eliminate so-called social ills through genetics and hereditary. Right, just as I was saying, modifications through genetics and also through reproduction. They believe the use of of methods such as involuntary sterilization, segregation, and social exclusion would rid society of individuals deemed by them to be unfit. Okay. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Hang on. I said eugenics, but I should have been a little bit clearer. Eugenics says it relates to the C-19 vaccination. That's what we're talking about today. Okay. But it is under the umbrella of eugenics. So, you guys, eugenics is alive and very well. Eugenics is alive and well. Okay. It didn't just stop in the 1960s or even sometime after that. No. No. So then it goes into a lot of history of racism and the theory, which yes, there's a lot of that. Had a lot of prejudice in against the black population, the uh, mentally handicapped population, and not just that, but social class population as well. Right, trying to get rid of poor people. It's a big one too. So how did it begin? Francis Galton, as I was telling you guys earlier, an English statistician, uh, demographer, and ethnologist. Words are hard for me today. A little fried. And cousin of Charles Darwin. Oh, that's interesting. Coined the term eugenics in 1880. Oh, I thought it was the 1860s. My bad. Galton defined eugenics as the study of agencies under social control that may improve or impair the racial qualities of future generations, either physically or mentally. Okay. That is very, very wrong. Very, very, very wrong. There is no race one better than the other. Okay. We are all the same animal. Okay. We're all primates. All right. All of us are. Right. So the thing is, we all bleed the same color, red. We all bleed the same color. We may have different uh uh what's the we all have different kinds of blood, right? We all have different blood types, is what I was trying to say. We all have different blood types, of course, but we all bleed the same color. All right. So, what determines who is better than who is what you put into yourself. All right. What you put into yourself. That is what makes you better than someone else. Your effort. Then that should be what determines if you are better than someone else. Merit, hard work, dedication should not it should not be rooted in scientific theories, ideologies, politics, and especially religion. It should not be intertwined in any of those. Actually, well, I mean, shouldn't really be a thought at all. Is discrimination on the basis of genetics, right? People cannot control who they are born as. However, they can control who they are when they grow up. And that is what really matters. The fact that they are trying to change this is absolutely disgusting. So during the 1870s and 1880s, discussions of human improvement and the ideology of scientific racism began increasingly common. So-called experts determined individuals as groups, and groups of people to be either superior or inferior. They believed biological and behavioral characteristics were fixed and unchangeable, which is completely wrong, and placed individuals, populations, and nations inside that hierarchy. Yeah, it's very, very closed-minded thoughtfulness here. Let's see, what did look like across the globe? Okay, so by the 1920s, eugenics had become a global movement. There was popular elite and governmental support for eugenics in Germany, the United States, Great Britain, Italy, Mexico, Canada, and other countries. Interesting. Isn't that interesting? Especially here in the United States. Statisticians, economists, anthropologists, psychologists, social reformers, geneticists, public health officials, and members of the general public supported eugenics through a variety of academic and popular literature. The most well-known application of eugenics occurred oh wow, really? In the lead up to World War II and the Holocaust. Interesting. The German racial state between 1933 and 1945 used its resources to cleanse the German people and the state of. I'm censoring because, well, I mean, I don't know exactly. I'm trying to get around the algorithm because the algorithm is really fucking me up. So I'm trying my best to get around the algorithm. No, talking about C-19 and eugenics might trigger that algorithm. Anyways, because I want to push this out to as many people as possible. People need to know this. Let's see. Yeah, those they deemed unworthy. Remember that phrasing later on. Blank in Germany, Austria, and other occupied territories euthanized at least 70,000 adults and 5,200 children. That's disgusting, bro. They implemented a campaign of forced sterilization and claimed at least 400,000 victims. This culminated in the near destruction of the Jewish people, as well as an effort to eliminate other marginalized ethnic minorities, such as the Sinti and Roma, individuals with disabilities, and the LGBTQ, the alphabet people. Um, well, it wasn't just that. It was also black people. It was also the poor. What did it look like in the United States? This is a little bit more important. I mean, all of it's important, but it's more important to us because obviously we're Americans here. So in the United States, slavery and its legacies, fears of um, miscegenation, miscegenation. I have no idea how to pronounce that word. And eugenics were deeply connected in the early 20th century. Prominent American eugenicists expounded on their concerns of race, self-unaliving, or the increasingly differential birth rates between immigrants and non-Nordic races compared to non-native born Nordic whites. Interesting. Eugenicists use the use the concerns to promote discriminatory policies like anti-immigration and sterilization. American eugenicists from a variety of disciplines declared certain individuals unfit, feeble minded, or antisocial, which resulted in involuntary sterilization of at least 60,000 people through 30 states' laws by the 1970s. I wonder how they were able to do that. These eugenicists disproportionately targeted Latino. Bro, why? Just call them. Stop it, bro. Stop with the fucking target Latinos, because that's what they are. That's fucking disrespectful. Native Americans, African Americans, they're just black. Okay, African Americans insinuates that they're coming from Africa, which they didn't. They're born here. That's also disrespectful. Poor whites, that's exactly right. And people with disabilities, that's also right. During the entirety of the 20th century, eugenicists were also crucial to the enactment of the discriminatory immigration legislation that was passed in 1924, the Johnson-Reed Act. Interesting. I'll have that to look into a little bit later on. This is the first time I'm reading this article, so which completely excluded immigrants from Asia. Let's see. Do eugenics and scientific? Yes, it does. That's exactly what we're talking about today. Yes, while eugenics movements especially flourished during the 3 decades before the end of the World War II, eugenics practices such as involuntary sterilization, forced institutionalization, social ostracization, and stigma were common in many states until at least the 1970s, and in some instances have continued into the present in various forms. We will leave that there. So a little bit more on this. Let's see. By the late 1800s, the Industrial Revolution had changed both how and where goods made in the United States and much of Europe. More and more people were living in the countryside for blah, 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 blah. Francis Galton, an English mathematician, and Charles offered an attractive solution to those who believed that these groups posed a threat. Right. Yeah, see? Native Americans, Black Americans, because that's what they are. Not African Americans. They don't come from Africa. Well, they were born in the States, is what I mean. So, all right, but that's we already covered the origins of eugenics. So, this is what we're talking about. If you guys don't know who Margaret Sanger is, get familiar with Margaret Sanger, which says she is one of the co-founders of Planned Parenthood. Okay, but she was also a very racist eugenicist, and so we're going to talk a little bit about it today. Let's see. Sexuality in the United States of America is not the same. Yeah, it's not the same as seen in the 1800s. Today, a large proportion of women in the country began utilizing a form of contraception at a young age in order to enjoy the pleasures of without worrying about having to halt one's education or career in order to be a mother. However, in the 1800s and early 1900s, the usage of contraceptives was far less common due to laws prohibiting the distribution of contraceptives or simply information about contraceptives via mail or in other non approved settings. Margaret Sanger sought to change this. She is largely renowned for her work in an ambitious feminist leading, as an ambitious feminist leading the birth control revolution, right? Birth control revolution in America, okay, and largely around the world. However, Sanger's motivations behind this work had dark roots in racism and eugenics, okay, demonstrating that the importance of acknowledging the dangerous rhetoric of her work and how it may have impacted social groups and around her. All right. Don't really care about her childhood. I want to know later on. In her early adulthood, Sanger became a nurse in New York, a career that opened her eyes to the struggles women without access to birth control faced due to unplanned and ill-equipped pregnancies. Look, how about you just have responsibility? Okay, it's not about you at the end of the day. All right, I kind of want to sidebar for a second. When you become an adult, you are supposed to be an adult. Okay. So that doesn't mean indulge yourself and ruin your body. Okay. You are supposed to treat your body with respect. All right. Treat your body with respect. So what does that mean? Whether you're a man or a woman, don't go and sleep around with a bunch of people. That's what that means. Find one person because we are very compassionate creatures, okay? We crave companionship. So go and find one woman, one man that you hold dear. Okay? I understand marriage is not marriage today. However, you can still commit to one another. All right? But commit to one another. Stay with them. Guys, look. Intimacy is just that. Okay? It's intimacy. And it doesn't mean anything if the person that you're doing it with is not special to you. We value this so much, and I don't understand why we do. It's not, bro. It's not the world, bro. It really isn't. Sure, it's awesome with the person that you care for, right? But at the end of the day, dude, it's not worth it, man. With someone that you're not into, someone that you're not in a relationship with, someone that you're not committed to, bro. We have gone so far away from morality here. We wonder why this society is collapsing the way that it is. Because we care too much about us and we don't care enough about what's going on around us, our communities. How our actions are facing, or excuse me, how our actions are directly involved with, or how they're directly impacting others' lives. So stop it. Stop being selfish. Stop being selfish. All right. There's more people. You are not the entire world. You're not the entire world. So stop it. All right. Grow up, be an adult, take responsibility. Shouldn't be using contraceptives. Well, I mean, if you guys aren't ready, right? If you're already in a committed relationship and you're not exactly ready to take on, the responsibility of having a kid, right, and raising it outside of school, mind you, because school is a breeding ground for indoctrination. But if you're not exactly ready, right, to have a kid, that's fine. But if you're using it because you want to be the town bicycle, you're disgusting, and grow up. That's for a man or a woman. I don't give a fuck. Okay, you're an adult. Take some you're an adult. Take some accountability. Take some responsibility. Do better. But that's my little sidebar. Anyways, let's get back to this. In her autobiography, Sanger recalled numerous occasions in which women came to her seeking a way to avoid or prevent pregnancies. In one instance, a woman asked, "Miss Higgins, what should I do not to have another baby right away?" Another instance, a woman had several miscarriages. That sucks. And 6 children, each with a different father. What the fuck, dude? No, no, no. Women, pick one man. Pick one man. Pick one. Just pick one guy. Pick one guy and stay with that guy. Make sure he's a good man. Make sure he is a good. Get your father's approval, okay, and make sure your father is one of those fathers that's a hard ass. All right, but he's a good guy. He takes care of the. I know it's hard to find these days, but find yourselves a man. Okay, find yourselves a man that is worthy to be a father, worthy to be a husband, worthy to be a man for you. All right. This right here should not be happening. Women should not be having 6 children with 6 different baby daddies. That should not be happening. That is disgusting behavior. That's disgusting behavior. Bro, while doctors and nurses knew that she would likely return again with pregnancy-related health issues, they did nothing about it because pregnancy and its related issues were deemed to be natural and therefore did not require a method of prevention. Okay. Or hang on, let's not skip. Let's not skip ahead here. As such, despite the numerous complaints, most of the issues regarding young women and pregnancy were either dismissed by doctors or doctors were unable to help due to the cosmic laws. Cosmic Act of 1873 made it illegal to publish, distribute, and possess obscene information, which included information about medications or other methods of abortion and contraception. Abortion should not be happening anyways. Okay. And I have people say all the time, "Oh, well, what if it's a life threatening procedure?" That is not an abortion. Okay. That terminology is used to describe the termination of a healthy pregnancy. That is what that is. When you have unviable pregnancies, such as ectopic pregnancies, that is not healthy. That is not how things are supposed to work. So therefore, it is unviable from the beginning. So it's not an abortion. It's not. That is a health procedure. That is a health procedure. And when people try to use that to try and justify people being selfish, people have a problem. Obviously. Such as I. So they shouldn't be happening because two evils does not justify, or because one evil does not justify the next. I understand that there are some gray areas. I understand that. However, I hold innocent life very dear. All right. And the very reason why the majority of the society doesn't is exactly why it's crumbling from the inside out. Okay. Very fact that we don't respect life at all. I mean, we're just even innocent life, but the fact that we don't respect life at all is the exact reason why everything is on fire today. Okay. So therefore, the United States of America in the 1800s and early 1900s was a place in which contraceptives use and distribution was largely limited and criminalized for good reason. because a lot of them didn't really do exactly what they thought they would do. A lot of them were causing a bunch of health complications because there just wasn't a whole lot of studies on it. The criminalization of widespread birth control, paired with the interactions Sanger had with women desperate to delay motherhood, inspired Sanger to strongly advocate for widespread access to birth control, a fight that she devoted her entire adult life to. 1914, Sanger published the first issue of her feminist magazine known as Woman Rebel, which was quickly barred from the mail due to the cosmic laws. However, Sanger decided to move forward with the publishing more issues of Woman Rebel and working with others to secretly deliver copies down mail chutes at night, knowing that she might face jail time or other forms of punishment for her actions. This is a huge violation of First Amendment rights. You should be able to publish whatever you want, as long as it's not violating the First Amendment. So, I she should have been able to publish it. I don't agree with Margaret at all, but she should be able to. She also opened up a clinic in Brownsville, New York, to distribute information about birth control, something illegal under New York law at the time. Following her arrest slightly over a week after the successful opening of her clinic and quick release on bail, Sanger went straight back to the clinic and continued to work, demonstrating her determination and persistence. There we go. Sanger continued her fight, founding what is known today as Planned Parenthood, launching another publication known as the Birth Control Review, founding the American Birth Control League, and more. And eventually, her efforts helped lead the legalization and popular usage of birth control in the United States of America. Clearly, Sanger was a key historical figure in assembling and spearheading the birth control movement, yada, 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 yada. However, there were far more important inspirations behind Sanger's work than quick Google searches dove into. Specifically, Sanger's writings shed light on underlying motives of Sanger and her movement toward family planning, eugenics, and racism. Okay. Just as we discussed earlier, genetics is a very evil way of science, I guess, if you could even call it that. Sanger strongly backed the field of eugenics and saw birth control as an innovative and safe way to medically allow for limiting the abilities of certain populations to reproduce. Okay? What does that mean? Only the desirables, okay? The undesirables can literally become sterilized. Can become sterilized because that's exactly what the birth control does. Okay, it slowly does that. All right. So that was the plan from the beginning. Well, I mean, maybe not the beginning, but that is who she was. That is who she was. All right. So, let's see. Her eugenic beliefs also found themselves rooted in race, greatly affecting the Black American populations and in America, and furthering beliefs that people of color were lesser than or appropriate for being used as test subjects. That's fucked up. For medical advancements. Both of these belief systems drove Sanger's fight for widespread, easy access to birth control in America. For one, Sanger was a strong proponent of eugenics, and many of her writings demonstrated her clear link the clear link she saw between controlling reproduction of certain groups and birth control. Sanger believed that the country was suffering greatly due to uncontrolled reproduction, specifically the unstable majority of the feeble-minded. I'm assuming that is referring to people living in city slums, overridden with disease, poverty, and other struggles. Okay, let's see. Okay, so in other words, Sanger argued that feeble minded people should not be granted the personal liberty to reproduce as much as normal people. Right, so pretty much only the rich people, that had the genetics that they preferred to have, were the ones that could reproduce, the ones that had the privilege to reproduce. That right there is the very deep root in the second wave feminism. When you begin to realize things like this here, you begin to see the overall picture here, right? And you also begin to see that things like this are not at all what they are, or what they seem to be on face value, or at face value, right? So you always must do your research when you come across, when I mean, especially when we're taught that stuff like this was good, right? That stuff like this is going to benefit and help people. Lo and behold, the information that we're talking about today, obviously not. All right, so we're talking about eugenics. Now we know what eugenics is. We also know that it has deep roots in the medical field per se, right? Because of all of these contraceptives, doing with health and stuff like that. How does it relate to today? Well, this is how it relates to today with the C-19 jab. Okay. And so, obviously, Bill Gates here. We want to talk about this email that came out recently from the e-files. All right, so there's a page here that was released. It says, cool, I'm excited. Also, I've been thinking a lot about that question you asked Bill Gates. How do we get rid of poor people as a whole? And I have an answer. Comment regarding that for you. When can I call you today to discuss this? All right. So, let's see. This is involving Bill Gates. Yep. Oh, yeah. Duh. Because his name is right there. All right. Oh, boy. So, what this insinuates is that both Jeffrey E. and Bill Gates were talking about how to get rid of poor people. So let's talk about this here, because this is Nicholas Holzer. If you guys don't know who this guy is, please make sure you take a look onto his page. He's got a lot of good stuff. He does well with this. So we're gonna watch this here.
Somebody emailed Jeffrey Epstein, and in the email it said, I was thinking about what Bill Gates said. How, and then in quotes, how do we get rid of all the poor people? And so, it's very worrisome that was stated. And so, apparently Bill Gates was in communication with individuals on how to get rid of all poor people. And, I don't think that that's about reducing poverty. I think that may have been reducing the population, because in a 2010 TED Talk, Bill Gates said in front of the world that he seeks to reduce the population by 10 to 15% using vaccines.
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Yeah, so Bill Gates is one evil monster and should be arrested immediately. More on him a little bit later. All right, so we have talks of, and this was what, 2010, 2015, something like that. Actually, here, when was this? Okay, so 2011. Yeah, I knew it was in between 2010 and 2015. So this was what, barely 10 years ago. So there was talks barely 10 years ago about lowering the population through, quote, good vaccines, right? Of up to 10 to 15%. Well, let's see. 17 million people died from the C-19 vaccines.
I was recently at a conference in Romania on the COVID crisis, and so there was a lot of work trying to unpack what we actually understand, and I saw a credible estimate of something like 17 million deaths globally from this technology. So
17 million deaths from the COVID vax?
well, when you scale up to billions, it's not hard to reach a number like that with a technology this dangerous. I was recently at a conference in Romania on the...
Damn. That's crazy. The researchers found that the fatal toxicity was 1 death per 800 doses across all ages and countries. That's crazy. Now, how did this happen? Well, we don't know how all of this came to, because there was when vaccines are going right from production to distribution, right? There always has to be a series of trials, animal trials, and then human trials, and then it should be approved by the it's not FDA, it's our health administration. I can't exactly remember. There are so many 3-letter agencies, it's hard to remember them all. So, but any kind of vaccination is supposed to go through a series of trials to be used, right, for mass production. And so, what didn't happen is they didn't go through. They actually skipped animal trials. And they also got rid of some of the human trials as well, because some of them weren't even coming back for a second dose for another trial. Interesting, right? So we're going to watch this here. We're going to watch this here.
And have you seen any other vaccine that was put out for the public that skipped the animal test?
Never before, especially for children.
And as what I've read, they actually started the animal test, and because the animals were dying, they stopped the test.
Correct.
Folks, I think that's important to understand there, that what we're talking about is the American people are now the guinea pigs. This is the test program that's going on. They didn't do the human testing, and they stopped the animal test because the animals were dying, and then they turned it out for the public. And we are now looking at businesses that want to mandate that this experimental vaccine be given to people as a condition of their employment.
Yep.
And yet we have this death count that continues to rise and be totally ignored.
What was it?
And have you seen any other vaccine?
Yeah, so we all remember how they tried so hard to make the C-19 jab pretty much impossible to ignore, because they threatened you with your jobs. They threatened you with jail time for trying to see your parents, trying to get togethers, whatnot, if you didn't follow their instructions, right? And so it's not the virus itself that was the threat. It was the unvaccinated. Now, I remember, because obviously I was in service with the United States Air Force when all of this stuff was going on, and the reason I was removed from service is because I refused this poison. And wouldn't you know, if it was effective, right, and if it was actually helpful, then I wouldn't have received an order, or a letter from the government itself rescinding the order of the mandatory jab, right? If it wasn't if it was so effective, then 17 million people globally would not have died from it. Okay, so there you go. Now, this was a study, what, just the end of this year, actually. Says that the FDA claims the C-19 vaccine was tied to 10 child deaths. That's fucking disgusting, dude. And I remember when they were also pushing that on our kids. I remember that. I remember that. I remember hearing a story of a father who um who was trying to have his kid go through sports, and they were forcing his kid to have the vaccination, um, or they were going to remove the kid from the sports. And I mean, as a father, it would be a tough decision, but it's an easy decision. And obviously, any kind of sports team like that does not care about does not care about the children. Anyways, let's go ahead and read this article here. Health Day News: a confidential internal memo from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is creating new controversy around vaccine safety, and after an agency official official said the C-19 vaccine may have played a role in the deaths of at least 10 children. The memo was obtained by the New York Times, has not been released publicly or reviewed by outside scientists. Interesting. I want to know why. Because I wonder how that could have happened. It's almost like all of the information that shows how much of a poison this thing was really says a lot. It's almost like all of the people that pushed this onto us are traitorous scum, and they made it a conservative effort to eliminate certain populations. I wonder. I'm just the conspiracy theorist. Okay, all right, awesome, cool, got it. Much rather be a conspiracy theorist than the people that were pushing this poison on people. Still, the memo reflects a major change in how the agency is talking about vaccine safety. The memo was written by Dr. Prasad. Prasad. I have no idea how to pronounce that name. Head of the FDA's vaccine division. In the note to staff, he said the deaths appeared to be tied to myocarditis, which is very, very true. Myocarditis was one of the health conditions that the jab caused. It was not only that, but it was also breast cancer, ovarian cancer. It's also immune deficiencies. I mean, it causes a plethora of problems, brain fog even. Some even brain cancers. I've seen that, right? So if you guys would like to know about a lot of the jab injuries, I would check in here and there with Dr. John Campbell, who is on YouTube. Unfortunately, they tried to silence him maybe a couple years ago, I think, on YouTube, but he's doing very successful now, and he's doing a good job at sharing the accurate, correct information that people really should have. But let's get back to this. So, rare type of heart inflammation that has been seen in some people after the COVID-19 or COVID vaccination. For the first time, the U.S. FDA will acknowledge that the C-19 vaccines have killed American children. I remember when they told us that this was the safest. It was the safest form of medication. It's the safest. It's the safest vaccine in the world. I remember they were telling us. They were telling us that. Well, guess what? He also said he plans to recommend a series of new reviews and stricter oversight for vaccines in general, although it is unclear whether the White House has been briefed on these plans. I'm sure they haven't. Or they more than likely have. They just haven't done anything about it, which because well, they're trying to cover up a certain thing. So any changes would still need to get a federal review before taking effect. For years, public health leaders, including those from the Trump and Biden administrations, have strongly supported C vaccines. Interesting, referring to them as life-saving during the height of the pandemic. Right, life-saving, but now they're causing cancers and killing people. Right. So, yeah. Let's see. On the other hand, we saw children admitted to our hospital with myocarditis from the virus. He said it was quite severe and caused admissions to the intensive care unit. Right. Not the virus, but the jab. All right. Let's see. What was this again? So Senator Ron Johnson, do you have any science to back up your opinion? Dr. Peter McCullough, in the largest autopsy series published today, examined cases that came in for autopsy after a vaccination. In 73.9% of individuals, it was determined that the mRNA jab was the cause of death. That's crazy. So let's watch this.
And do you have any science to back up your opinion?
The best data are autopsies. So in the largest autopsy series published to date, I know because I'm the senior author, of all the deaths we examined, and we re-reviewed them. We had an adjudication committee. We had ways of arbitration deciding on did the vaccine cause death. The answer is, of these cases that came in for autopsy after vaccination, 73.9% of individuals, it was determined that the vaccine was the cause of death. First author is Holscher and colleagues. He's sitting right behind me.
And do you have any science to back up your opinion?
The best.
Oh, opinion. Opinion. Not statement. Right? Not claim. Opinion. Watch how they word things. And you can see the little fucking smile there. Now I don't know hardly anything about this guy, but I can tell I can tell what his stance is by the way he approached this conversation. Crazy. 73.9%, almost three quarters of people who were coming in, it was found that their deaths were because of this jab. And guys, look, the mRNA, it alters your very genetics. I want you to understand it alters your very DNA. It does. It absolutely. That's why all of these different health conditions are happening, because it's altering your, and it doesn't stay at the site like they said that it would. No, it spreads to other organs. It spreads to other organs, and it's very contagious if that as well. It's very, very contagious. So even, well, I mean, through bodily fluids, right? So even if you detox, right, you can still get reinfected, right? So, and with the vast majority of people being sheep here in America and just doing what the fuck they're told, right, because they fear of stepping out of outside that line, they fear being the nail that is stuck up, right? Unfortunately, what 20 or 30% of the population never got it, but are still infected because of the vast majority of idiots. well, maybe not idiots, but vast majority of idiots and cowards. There we go. I think that's a better phrase. I get more frustrated with the American people that just accept their situations and complain about it a little bit online than just go back to doing nothing, or just going back to their regular everyday life like nothing just happened. Yeah, I this may be harsh, but I don't care. I view you as a cowardice idiot. I do. Because the very fact that you're not doing anything about it really pisses me off, and it pisses me off a lot more than what it does about these people committing these evils. Because that shows me that you don't really care enough. You don't really care enough for you to get up and do something. So you're fine with watching someone else's kid die, but when it comes to your kid, that's when you that's when you get up and do something. How does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? And for these people who believe that you don't really care what happens as long as it doesn't directly affect you, everything directly affects you. Policies directly affect you. What someone else down the street directly affects you. Everything directly affects you. Because if you turn your brain on for at least one goddamn second and realize, okay, that we are so interconnected because of technology, because of compassionate creatures that we, because of the compassionate creatures that we are, right? Because of laws, morals, and values, everything directly affects us. Everything someone does directly affects us. And the sooner you realize that, and the sooner you get up and do something about all this evil that's been going on, without any accountability, without any justice, things are going to continue to go the way that they are. So get up, do something about it. Stop being a coward. Stop being a fucking idiot. Get up and do something about it. I am. That's why I'm doing this here. A little bit sidebar real quick. I get very frustrated with people who, come in to these political streams for like 1 minute and then they just bounce right back out. I hate that shit, bro. I really hate that shit, dude. It really frustrates me. Anyways, I'm just gonna leave that there. This is information that you guys really should know. Okay, there's some very important information. Not a lot of people know about this stuff and how it relates to, I don't know, eugenics, one of the most evil scientific theories of all time, and how it's still going on today underneath our noses. So you should be paying attention to this, not watching your fucking sports game, not playing your video games for 12 hours a fucking day. You should be looking into this stuff because, again, things directly affect you. There's a very wise phrase that I learned about a while ago. It goes like this: you may not care about politics, but politics cares about you. And listen, I had this little thing onto it, and I always say, if you don't care about your freedoms, you'll eventually find yourself living under a boot. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you don't care about what's going on around you, right, things affecting your freedoms, then don't be surprised when, I don't know, the government kicks in your door and makes you do something that you don't want to do. So there you go. Be aware, be active when it comes to politics. I hate politics just as much as the other person because it's become that toxic today. So I get it. I understand why most people don't want to be involved with politics. I get it, but we have to be involved in politics. If we don't understand what's going on in the world around us, we're mindless sheep being led to the slaughter. Okay? So, do your research. Look into this, and for God fucking sakes, please tune into these political streams, all right? I find it very frustrating how I have people who are tuning in for just a couple of seconds, right? But they'll stay for hours on my gaming content. I love to have you guys hang around, but this stuff is more important. Okay, you guys should know about the C-19 vaccination and how it relates to eugenics. Okay, you all should know that. It's very important information. Okay, because I've watched people lose their loved ones over this stuff. All right, that's why I say this is so important to know about. And even more so, we need to find solutions to the problem. But anyways. So, Dr. Marty Makary on how the how the C vaccine was recommended for pregnant women. It was even recommended for pregnant women. Okay? Meaning that DNA could be transferred into the baby, right? Because obviously, how pregnancy works. And boom, there you go. There you go. So let's watch this.
I spoke at an oncology conference yesterday, and I actually met the guy who used to work at Moderna. He left, and he told me his primary job at Moderna was to follow me and see what I was saying and what was critical of Moderna. That was his primary job.
He was hired to keep track of what you were saying about Moderna.
That's
I believe it. Yeah.
Now, you're right. Everyone is conflicted with some, right? We have a job. We're employed by the university. The universities receive money. Every single university gets pharma money practically, right? Every single medical center. But the problem is when you have a randomized trial or results of a trial, and they are being broadcast by the people who are conflicted, and you don't know that. And that's what we saw when every person went on the news and said, the babies have to take the Pfizer vaccine. Right? Everyone was conflicted. Here's an example. So pregnant women were excluded from the original COVID vaccine trials. So to answer the question, should pregnant women get the vaccine, Pfizer launched a big randomized controlled trial in February of 2021. They mysteriously stopped the trial after 349 women enrolled in the study. There was no explanation given. The investigators never said anything.
Well, given what happened with the animal trials, I wonder why.
They should say something, right? They have a moral duty to speak up. Here we are 18 months later. The results of those 349 women have never been made public. And it didn't really matter for the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology and the CDC. They just recommended it for pregnant women with zero data. And maybe that's why they stopped the study. Maybe they realized, hey, we don't need to convince anyone. The cult has converted the leadership of these specialty organizations and the CDC. We don't need to provide any data. And running a study runs the risk of showing that there may not be a benefit in pregnant women.
Isn't that interesting? That's very, very interesting. So they skipped animal trials because the animals kept dying. And then they also stopped the human trials. And they recommended it to pregnant women. And what did that do? What did that do? Well, we don't know because they never released it. They never released anything. Oh shit. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, here we go. That's right. Let's see. Facts you need to know. Pfizer, 4.7 billion in fines for false claims for drug and medical equipment safety violations. Off-label promotion. Interesting. Corrupt practices, of course. Kickbacks. Yep. And bribery. Interesting. Moderna has never brought a vaccine to market since its founding. Interesting. Despite fielding 9+ jabs candidates, none of which made it through phase 3 clinical trials. Interesting. Johnson & Johnson named in hundreds of thousands of lawsuits for toxic and or dangerous products, including drugs, shampoos, medical equipment, and asbestos, contaminated baby powder. Interesting. Let's see. AstraZeneca suspended by 24 European countries. Oh, wow. Due to severe lethal adverse reactions like blood clots. Yep. Yeah, who remembers that autopsy or the pictures of that autopsy that was done where they had removed 13 different blood clots? That's insane, bro. That is absolutely insane. All right, so here we go. We got Nicholas Holzer again. One of our autopsy studies found that in individuals who died from myocarditis following the C-19 jab, the injection was identified as the cause of death in 100% of cases. So let's see. These cardiotoxic injections often result in fatal consequences and must be withdrawn from the global markets immediately. Of course they are. Let's see here. Be honest, I don't know what half of this says. Oh, and there's also new evidence that HIV is now, let's see. Let's see. Interesting. Right. So they're injecting us all with HIV. Awesome. Yeah, so that's happened recently. That information. Let's see. Oh, but here's also something else. While we were forced to take it, and they made us look they made us out to look like bad people with the name with T word, right? I'll just say it, terrorists. They made us look like that. Guess who was exempted from it? So let's take a look at this.
But I saw potentially 400 deaths linked to one vaccinator. You know, that vaccinator may not even realize.
Wow.
I mean, this is horrific stuff.
I don't think Harold Shipman managed that.
No, he didn't. He was like 260. I've actually interviewed a vaccinator here, Liz, who now works on a farm, and she reads the death notices every day from her town, terrified that she's participated. And even now, we just interviewed, we were at the Caledonian. The guy who runs that, Brad, he's had 6 funerals in the last few months. And then another couple joined us. In the last year, they've had 17 in their funeral. I mean, this is insane. It's nuts.
Well, in New Zealand, the Maori and Pacific Islanders have big extended families, and they were really focused on by Jacinda Ardern and all her coterie of jabbers. And there was a beautiful Pacific Island fellow who I just so wanted on the board of New Zealand Loyal. And he broke down when I talked to him. He just broke down sobbing. His is a big warrior man. And he said, Liz, I have been to 60 funerals in 11 months. I can't carry one more coffin. I can't do one more tangi. I can't do one more speech about some little baby or some little boy or, an elder who should not yet be dead. So it is really affecting our Pacific Island and Maori brothers and sisters. They're going to so many funerals now.
Also, the thing that's come out from New Zealand was that freedom of information that showed that they had 11,000 exemptions, most of them the politicians and the elite, really. That's staggering. So they're pushing, even though they've been exempt, they're just pushing and saying it's safe and effective, and they don't know because they haven't taken it. You know,
it's disgraceful. I was in the meetings going around with New Zealand Loyal. It was kind of a joke, but not, because nobody knows what they would do with somebody like Jacinda Ardern. And it's the same, you know, with every world leader who's pushed this. What do you do with someone who has murdered their own people and sanctioned the murder of their own people? And I was saying,
oh, I could tell you what we could do with them: the death penalty for every single one of them. Bring out the wood chipper.
You know, in the discussions, well, maybe before all these 120 politicians who didn't get the jabs, before they leave, we could just line them all up and say, before you go, we're really worried. We want you to be safe, and this is very effective. So we're going to give you 3 of these jabs before you leave Parliament, just to make sure you're safe out there. Yeah. I mean, that's entirely inappropriately facetious, but there is an anger behind that. There is a hurt behind that. There is such a deep betrayal in all of this. Our country, Michael, I think many people are deeply traumatized now in this country, deeply traumatized. And in some quarters, it's only a small number of Kiwis, but the viciousness online, I look at it and I pity these people. I had somebody I've known for I don't know, 16 months, who I've been, you know, in weekly contact with, just totally viciously, continually attack me just from the week before the election. And I really pity that person, because I think some people's minds can't cope with this much trauma. It's like being in a very, very traumatic family situation, like a drunk or something like that, where you have a drunk parent and you're traumatized every night. That's what this country feels like now. Very
well, you're in a
Mm.
shoot the messenger situation. That's where we are. You know, easier to shoot the messenger than deal with the truth. And the
That's it.
truth is overwhelming for lots of people. They just can't comprehend it, you know. And the reality is when did they know? When did they know?
Well, from the start. From the start. So while people were dying, they're raking in $90 billion in profit from these vaccines. Excuse me. Yeah.
In 1998, Dr. Zabin became the founding director of the Bill and Melinda Gates Institute for Population Control.
To be ready for pandemic 2, I call this pandemic 1. Most of the work we'll do to be ready for that are also the things we need to do to minimize the threat of bioterrorism. An epidemic either naturally caused.
You mean from yourself, Bill Gates? Is that what you're talking about? Right, to be safe from you. You should be receiving the death penalty for the crimes that you have committed. That's what should be happening for you. You and all of your friends, Fauci included, of course. All of you should be receiving the death penalty for brutally committing just the most terrible crime upon humanity. All of you should be receiving the death penalty. Every single one of you. Every single one of you.
Or intentionally caused is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths. Today, the greatest risk of global.
All right. Well, I'm not going to do that. I hope that doesn't get me copyrighted. God damn it, bro! Stop putting music. Stop putting fucking music in your clips. Stop it, dude. That shit is so annoying. I'm having a crash out, but I think it's a fucking valid crash out. Okay? Stop putting these loud music clips in all of your clips on the internet. Stop it, bro. Just play, just Just play the clips, bro. That's all you got to do. Just play the clips like it is original sound. Hope that I hope that this live stream does not get copyrighted. Oh my god. Anyways. So that's what's happened, guys. That's how eugenics is connected to the C-19 vaccination. And again, while they are enjoying, right, their comfortable lives and exempting themselves from this poison, our children are dying. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, they're all being killed for population reduction. And I would say because of, well, guess what? Because they want to get rid of poor people. They want to get rid of poor people. They want to get rid of the undesirables. This is why I say eugenics has been around for quite some time, and it is still there. They may not just they just may not call themselves eugenics or eugenicists. They may just call themselves your doctors. Okay? All right. But that's how that is. And something needs to change, okay? Right? As much as I, love to share all of this information with you, I also want to share the solutions, okay? How can we fix these problems? Again, right, just like I've been saying for a very long time on this channel and people don't listen, right? Such as, getting 5 fucking views on this thing. We got to run for office. We got to run for office. We got to win. And we got to go after people like Bill Gates, right? We got to hold these people accountable. They cannot feel as though they're above the law. They need to be fearful of the consequences of their actions. That's what needs to happen. That's exactly what needs to happen. So we run for office in mass numbers. I'm saying, guys, look, and it's American men that we really need to start and get this thing on the roll. All right. We are responsible for this society. And unfortunately, there are too many weak men that aren't willing to do anything about what's going on. However, there are some out there, such as myself, who literally is willing to become a target of any kind and stick my neck out for all of you to try and change this country for the better. All right. So I'm saying we all have to start running for office. We have to we have to get into office, and then we have to go after these people. We have to implement justice through the eyes of the law, the right way, of course, right? And then punish these people, given the appropriate punishment, which in situations like this is the death penalty. This is a crime on a humanitarian scale. They are a threat to humankind as it is. They are. 17 million people globally have had their lives taken because of this. There needs to be something done. Right? And we don't need cowardice politicians to just play a fucking script for us. We don't need that. Matter of fact, for those politicians who want to play a script, they can go to jail too for conspiracy. But this is what needs to be done. This is what needs to be done. But expect there to be conflict. There's going to be conflict. 100% there will be. But if we want to change something, this is a way to do it. This is a way to do it. We take this country back by replacing all of these traitors, all of these people that don't care about the American people, the American values, and would only care about lining their own pockets. That's it. That is it. So, that's how we change things. That is how we change things. These people need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable for the actions that they've committed. Him, Fauci, Trump, Biden, all of them. All of them need to be held accountable. And it starts with us, right? Just like how Brendan Herrera is running for office. Just like how Thomas Massey actually was and that this is just what I've been hearing, that Thomas Massey's talking about running for president. Okay? We need good people, true patriots, not sellouts, not people who only care about themselves and touching little children. We need red-blooded patriots, Americans that care about this country, care about their fellow American, to go into office and to hold these monsters, these evil motherfuckers accountable. That's what needs to happen. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't support that, then you deserve every single thing these people want to give you. That's called cowardice, and that's called idiocy. And that frustrates me more. That is what I hate more than these people. So, where are your balls, America? Where's your courage? Where is it? A little bit of tough love. You know, and all these people that are joining in for just a couple of seconds, you really need to do better. You really need to do better. All right? Frustrates me to see something like that. Because you guys are all happy to tune in to the gaming streams, to a lot of other stuff that I do on the channel, but when it comes to the political streams, you guys just don't really seem to care. That frustrates me. Do better. All right, that being said, I'm going to go cool off. I would love to do more of these political live streams, but you know, these people who are just joining for a couple of seconds and then leaving is really frustrating me. So, but again, it starts with us taking office, replacing people who have sold us out, and going after people like Bill Gates, like Fauci, and holding them accountable for the astronomical crimes they've committed. But I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Anyways, thanks so much for joining the live stream, guys. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off there. We've already talked about all that we really could. Appreciate you guys. I do appreciate you guys who have joined in tonight. Hopefully you got something from it, even though you stayed for like 10 seconds. And it was of use to you. Even for those of you who are watching after, I hope this is of use to you. And please make sure you comment down below what your thoughts are on this. So, wish you all a lovely night, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys. Take care.